Hi, Eds. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We'll start in a while, in 2 minutes.
Yes,
Will you be presenting the presentation that we uploaded, or should we do it from our side?
you can do it on your side, and you can also ask our technical team to also present it on your behalf.
I think we'll do it
Would you-
from our side.
All right, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So once again, good afternoon, and we will start after 2 minutes. I hope that you will jot down your questions if you have. So for those who are with us in Zoom, kindly use our chat box right here for your questions. And for our friends who are in Facebook Live, you can chat your questions on the comment section. And for our friends in Royal Tempo College, please ask our in charge or members of the Friends Project to or where you can give your questions. Unfortunately, we only have limited time, so there might be some questions that will not be accommodated today. But don't worry, because we can compile all those questions and give it to our speakers. Don't forget to write your email address as well for you to get your answers. Thank you, and we'll start after a few minutes. Miss Licky, are we good now?
Yes, Lopez, we can start.
All right. All right, so welcome to the Parallel Conference Session 2. I am your segment host. I am Eds of the University of Cebu. So in this session, we have a good number of equally competent speakers who will share about Friends' achievements and impacts. So before we officially start this meaningful talk, please allow us to thank you all for gracing our event. And we would also like to greet everyone who are with us via Facebook Live, Zoom, and of course, our friends who are currently in Royal Tempo College. So to our friends in Bhutan, Kuzu Zangpola, I hope I have this right pronunciation. To our friends in Bulgaria, Zidrave. To our friends in Hungary, Zia. To our friends in Poland, Shisht. To our friends in Turkey, Merhaba. To our friends in Cambodia, Suwazdai. To our friends in Malaysia, Salam. To our friends in the Philippines, Mabuhay and Kumusta, and to our friends in Thailand, Sawadi. So to everyone with us here, hello, 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 and let us start this parallel conference session 2. Firstly, we will learn about internationalization at home of Royal Tempo College in Bhutan, enhancing home away from home practices that will be presented by Ms. Lenzi Kamakahi, and of course, our boot campers. So Ms. Lenzi Kamakahi is the International Relations Advisor, and our RTC boot campers who will also be sharing this afternoon or this day will be Ms. Pem Dechan Tubgay and Ms. Pilden Lamo. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ed. That's a lovely introduction. Can you hear on it your end? Perfect. All right. So as she mentioned, my name is Lindsay Kamakahi. I have had the distinct pleasure of being half on board with Friends when it started. And then I left Bhutan for a couple of years and I'm back for the end. So I'm very fortunate in this. And we're here to talk about the internationalization process here at RTC. Some of you may have very similar things. And if not, we're happy to share information knowledge together and try to come up with more best practices. So with that, I will go ahead and get started. Our International Relations Office falls under Development and External Relations, and we do many things in this office and wear many hats. So some of the things that we have are inbound students that have come from abroad and come to study either for a semester, a year, or their whole degree program. So we're very fortunate with this, and we just celebrated our International Day yesterday. So we had lots of people up on campus, different international guests. But in this, we're going to talk about our international exchanges and what we try to do for our inbound students before they get here. Now, before they even arrive, we're in touch with them because if you are aware of Bhutan's immigration policies, we have to have a long leeway in order to get everything done to get them here in time for the semester to start. So we're in touch with them maybe 2-3 months ahead of time, and we are working with them to try to figure out what all needs to be done. So the regular processes of the application, the regular processes of an interview to make sure that it's a good fit and that their expectations of what they want and our expectations of what a student should be are the same. We do the visa application with them and we give them the tentative schedule ahead of time. And the reason for this is many foreign universities don't have the same type of scheduling that we do because we have that long winter break because it's very cold up here. So our goal is to make sure that they're aware of what they're getting into before they get started with us. We help them out, of course, with packing lists and trying to coordinate flights because for those of you that have not been to Bhutan yet, there's very few airports that we can work with. So we have to get you to an airport so that you can get here. And we have a discussion on internships for credit because in Bhutan, we can't do paid internships, but we can do internships for credit, which is great for us. And it's a great experience for the students as well. So these are the types of things that we do before they even arrive. Now, when they get here, they see a lot of our office. We do airport pickup, and it may not be us, but we have often assigned international buddies to them. And this is students that really want to be involved. Maybe they can go abroad, maybe they can't, but they want to be involved with the office and they want some exposure. So some of these tasks that need to be done that are very important tasks, we can hand off to the students and they have a great time doing this. So they can answer all the questions about student life and living on the dorms and things of this nature. When we get them here, if we get them with their buddies, then they're not the only ones living on campus, because we invite them in before the rest of the students come. We invite them to move in, and we try to get them situated, get accommodated to this area, RTC, and everyone around, because they'll be the only one here for about a week. The rest of the students are still on vacation. We have our mental health and our physical health resources on campus. We work in tandem to make sure that everyone's adjusting and adapting properly. Concerning the physical health, we make sure that in their packing lists, if they have any medications and such that maybe is not available here in Bhutan, that they bring enough for the entire time that they will be here. Class selection is always a fun one, because some classes will not transfer back to their home universities. So we want to get this underway as early as possible and try to get them in things that are interesting for them that they couldn't take at home. We take them around Thimphu. We often let the buddies and the roommates take them around so that, again, they can find what they need. RTC expectations. We have different rules that, as every university does, that we have to fulfill. So we want to make sure they know what's going on before we get too far into the semester. And we have lots of sessions with culture shock and adaptation. We do our best to get all the students that have studied abroad already into those sessions so they can tell them, oh, this is what we realized when we moved abroad. Maybe this is useful information for you. It also helps for all of the cultural questions that I'm not able to answer. Although I've been here for many years, some of the things I am just not sure of. And so I have to direct that to my lovely colleagues. When they come here, it is that they are expected to do the same things as our local Bhutanese students. And for some of them, it's very interesting. They're not aware that we have things like an attendance policy. Currently, it's at 90%. Many foreign students have not had an attendance policy like this before, so it takes some getting used to. When they get here, we have an orientation so that they can meet all the key people on campus. So from our college management committee, who are the mentors who take care of the dorms, who do you need to talk to for transportation, all of these things, and show them our website so that they're able to figure out what it is they need. For student life, when they come, they're the only ones on campus. So we tell them, don't worry, there'll be more students soon. But for now, with your buddies, your RAs, the roommates, please, try to figure out where everything is before it gets hectic and the semester starts. There are many sessions, and we're very fortunate to be in Thimphu and have lots of guest speakers be able to come in and talk about adjusting to life in Bhutan. And then we get them enrolled with what's needed. We continuously through the semester have meetings with the students to try to work on feedback and monitoring. If we know about any problems or adaptation or any food issues, often the foreigners cannot eat spicy chilies as much. We can try to solve these problems immediately when we find out about them. If they wait till the end, we can't do much about it. So we try to get continuous feedback from them. And when we've given them a chance to sign up for courses and to try some out before they're put formally into the classes. So they're able to do all of these things. And so you'll see many of the foreign students are in with a lot of the Bhutanese students. And what this does is it makes both the students and the lecturers have an understanding of what are the differences in classroom policy. Things that people have commented on are sometimes in Bhutan, the students talk amongst themselves, and whether they're getting definitions or trying to figure out concepts, it's a very foreign concept for a lot of our international students. So this is a great way to share and figure out what's going on. Now, once they're on campus, we don't leave them be all the time. We have meetings to make sure everything's going well, and we separate out the international students and their roommates, but we have meetings with both groups so that they can give feedback without saying, my roommate did this is very awkward. And we can try to sort out some of these problems that are potentially just cultural and would have solved themselves if they were communicating about it. So we do lots of organized field trips. In fact, many of the students are going to Laya, I think tomorrow or the next day, as a field trip. So they're getting to experience the culture with some of the staff and some of the students that are able to go. We continue to talk about adaptation because this is a never-ending thing. Things always happen and we always want to try to figure out what we can do. And then we continue to make sure that the logistics are sorted out. So even though we're not ending the semester now, we're already asking about travel plans back, what are they doing for the winter break, and trying to figure out what it is they need and anticipate their needs before they know them. We still talk to them even when they're gone. We had lots of alumni that were able to come up for International Day, and this is the first time we've had international students who are alumni that are in country now that were able to come for the event. So we try to keep tabs on them and get more information so we can do profiles on them, share what they've done, and if there's any partner schools that are having students come in, we try to connect them already. They're the best brand ambassadors for us. We have them help us update all of our materials. So our feedback, our packing list, any of these things, we want to make sure that it's updated, because from our end, we're thinking from the first time we've come, things change. And so they can help us notify these things immediately. The same happens for our outbound. We're able to do the exact process, but in reverse. We don't let them just go and leave. And as my lovely colleagues will tell you, we do lots of processes with them before they even depart. We want to make sure everyone's on the same page, and we've found that expectation management is the best way to do that. If we are not clear on the expectations, that leaves a lot of room for problems. So we do the exact opposite on the way out. And especially for here, a lot of the students need visas for different places. So we have an entire mapped out process on how to get to Delhi, how to apply for visas. And we have videos and seminars, and sometimes they're very tired of talking to us, but this is what it is. We don't have many of the foreign embassies here in the front. They still send us many of the write-ups and talk to us about what classes they selected. We want to make sure that they'll get the credits when they come back. And for some of our students, they're very fortunate enough to go to multiple locations, which is a lot of work on our end, but it gives students a great opportunity. So when they get to the first destination, they have to start applying for their visa for the second destination. So we do our best to keep on track and make sure that the partners are with us, the embassies are with us, and people are all moving forward. And when they return, we want them to help us out. They saw how important it was, and we want them to be loved. We want them to be related, and we want them to be involved. They're expected to do things like our International Day and help us with independent feedback. And when we announce our study abroad, essentially they do a presentation about their study abroad, and then in our comments we sometimes please come and join us. Just some pictures, because pictures are fun of our students being in different locations. We don't have to update the plans, but this is what happened a lot with pre-COVID. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help. Otherwise, I will pass it off to my colleagues.
All right, thank you so much. Maybe we can have now our boot campers from RTC. Once again, let's welcome Ms. Pem Dechen Tugay and Ms. Pelden Lamo. The floor is yours.
Here to share our experience in this camp in Bulgaria. So I started my parents in three sessions. First is level learning, is supporting things, and parents things that they want to learn. And since the creator of the film was one of the sharing this news about internationalization as well. So I don't think there's not much about it. But I feel like my model in Bulgaria. Basically in Bulgaria, it's also the learning that's we that's in Bulgaria. First was agriculture competence, teamwork, teaching, and in coordination. So since really very dynamic roles, we need to be very like sensitive. Like whenever we work in multicultural settings, so it's going to be learned about how to be more competent in multicultural settings and we're trained on like multiple um, concepts of culture, and we also had different team building sessions, which was really fun. And to to coordinate an event and all, we need to budget. So definitely we needed to learn how to pitch an idea as well. And this was some of the overall learnings that we had. And the second one is the put in place. Every weekend we had like very senior coaches and giving us a very good place. Starting from the most starting we will reach to very good beaches in Burma. And we had a lot of like, fun experience and also some like grateful experience which mainly consisted of how different our cultures were. And as you can see here, you can see a lot of seafood, and Bhutan being a landlocked country, we don't really get to eat seafood here, so it was a very wonderful experience for us as well. And the highlight event of us was like making the friends for 5 different countries. So this is a very catchy phrase, friends of the Friends Burger. That's what we like what we boot campers like to call this whole thing about. So we had a lot of friends, especially from from the different Indian universities. And we learned that even though we're from the same part of the world, which is in Asia, we learned how different all of us were, especially in our cultures. And it was a really fun experience. And we also got to like eat different types of food that we cook it ourselves, and we also presented our like dresses and other things to them. So you can see here, like we had our friends from different Asian countries to try our kiras and to go, and we also like had really fun event as well. So that basically sums up my experience. Thank you.
So good afternoon. I'm Ben Shizagi. I'm currently in my second year. I'm pursuing a bachelor's in commerce with a major in finance. So I was also one of the lucky participants who got to go to Bulgaria. So just as Fred mentioned, our experience was a very enriching experience. And for me personally, aside from making many friends and memories, I was able to learn how the intangible aspects of our culture influence our day-to-day decision making as an individual and as a nation as a whole, because we learned of various indexes which allowed us to analyze and predict the GDP and the behavioral traits of a country. So through this, we were made aware of how important it is to be interculturally aware, especially coming from a small nation like ours. So we would like to thank the Erasmus Plus Friends Project and RTC for giving us this opportunity. And we also look forward to such opportunities in the future as well. Thank you.
All right. So Thank you so much, or Kadrin Chayla. I hope I pronounce it well. Thank you, Miss Lency Kamakahi, Miss Pem, and Miss Peldin. So before you go, boot campers, I'd like to ask one question if it's okay. Is it all right,
Coming.
Miss Pem and Miss Peldin? So my question is, while waiting for the questions from our friends in Zoom and on Facebook Live, I'm really interested about different programs you have right now that you're back in Bhutan. So the question is, were you able to create boot camp inspired activities in RTC?
I think one of the final outcome of this whole project was the tea house, Frank's tea house. So basically, the whole concept of tea house is having internationalization at home. So at the tea house, we conduct various different projects, and we also have dinners where we also have dinner where international students can come and they can cook their various dishes. And us from Bhutan, we also present our own food and we interact together. And I think the International Day that we had yesterday can also be one of the main events that we coordinated. And Pembachin and I both were a part of the International Day yesterday. So we could actually apply the learnings that we had from the boot camp and from the book as well into our learnings at artists as well. I think that will be. Oh, we are also we also popularized the MOOC to our various students, and we also informed the students about the whole online course in the tea house and to the social media platforms as well.
All right, thank you so much. How about the other boot camper? Would you like to share something?
Pretty much since I'm involved with Belgium, so we have the same explanations.
All right, so thank you so much.
Hi, can you hear me? Can I add on that?
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
So from RTC, we had sent 4 of our students for the bootcamp in Bulgaria. So it's not that after their return trip, they are staying idly at the campus. We have had them included and then involved in every activity that was being held. Likewise, PEM has already informed, we had celebrated our International Day yesterday. We also had our career fair yesterday. So we had RTC Festa on an overall event organized yesterday. So we had them involved in that event. And then we also had our international cooking sessions going on with the tea house as a part of the tea house event. So we are very happy that they are helping. And then we look forward to run the tea house and then the MOOC also in future. So yes, I think they are practically doing their best to incorporate all the learnings that they have done during their bootcamp sessions. Thank you.
All right. So once again, Kadrin Chaila, or thank you so much to our friends in Royal Temple College, especially to Miss Lency Kamakahi, Miss Pem, and Miss Pilden. So from Bhutan, let us go to Baguio City in the Philippines to learn about the institution's best practices on embedding internationalization at home. So please give your virtual claps to the director of the University Research and Innovation Center, and of course, the Friends Coordinator of St. Louis University, Baguio City, Philippines. So I give you now Professor Dr. Richelle Lamadrid.
Okay, so before I proceed, I'd just like to confirm if everything's all right with my PowerPoint and my voice.
Yes, everything's all right.
Confirm.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so good afternoon, our friends from Bhutan, and also the Friends family and the world who are watching with us with this webinar. So I'm tasked to present our institution's best practices on embedding internationalization at home. But before I do that, I just like to give our audience a little information about the Philippines, or in particular where we are right now, which is Baguio City, Philippines. So we are almost like 4 to 5 hour ride away from Metro Manila. It actually sits on top of a mountain, so it's kind of cold, and hence it's called the summer capital of the Philippines. We attract a lot of tourists, and it's also a university hub where a number of universities are within our reach. Now, on the part of our university, we have been in operation for 111 years. So we're founded by Belgians. And so throughout our history, we have had a number of our presidents as Belgians. And currently, our president is the only second Filipino president. And the population that we have right now is 25,500 for the university students. And we have multidisciplinary programs. We offer law, medicine, liberal arts, teaching education, engineering, architecture, medical technology, radiology, nursing, business, information technology, and a lot. So we are attracting a lot of students all over the Philippines, and we are also catering to international students to date. And so just to refresh our memory of how we define what internationalization at home is. So as you can read from the definition on the slide, it's the purposeful integration of international and intercultural dimensions into the formal and informal curriculum for all the students within domestic learning environments. So I will be presenting using the organizational development change process. So on the left, you may find the outline on how I may attack my task. So I'll start off with the Friends Kickoff and other internationalization initiatives that we do. And I move on to motivating to embrace internationalization at home, proceeding with creating a vision, developing political support, managing the transition, and currently sustaining our momentum. So given that we are already 111 years in existence, we have had a lot of internationalization initiatives already. So it's nothing new to us. In fact, we have we frequently invite, or we have regular visitors from Belgium. They are medical students who usually come over to have their internship. And at the same time, we also send some students to study in Belgium. I myself is a recipient of that scholarship between Belgium and our school's cooperation, because I did my PhD in Ghent University. And at the same time, we also have a lot of partnerships with a number of Thai universities for English programs. So with Indonesia and China. So that's nothing new to us. But then again, with Erasmus Plus Friends project, there now has it has now become purposeful in our way on how we may inject this internationalization and intercultural dimensions into our domestic learning environment. So now there's a brand which we can call as Friends, because before we offer all these initiatives but spontaneously and as the need arises. Now we put a brand, and we are grateful for that. Now we call it Friends. Whatever we do in the light of nurturing campus diversity and supporting internationalization at home. So we started off embracing what internationalization at home is with the motivation. So starting off with the promotion and encouraging what this is, a buy-in to all our Lucian community. So we make sure that we influence our top management first by staging a number of roundtable discussions for enlightenment, for orientation about all the initiatives that we are currently doing, and at the same time what we plan to do. So by that buy-in, we expose them to concepts such as TNE, transnational education, the faculty and student mobility, even the intercultural dialogue that must be also part of the the whole phenomenon of IAH. And we also made sure that we influence our student officers, because we have a lot across the Louisian student population, and at the same time making sure that their advisors are into this idea as well. And for this particular semester, we started our university-wide information dissemination with the orientation of our fresh intake. The freshman students are now one with us in the agenda of internationalization, because we believe that we have to start them young from the freshmen and until they gradually grow old in the university, and up till they graduate, we hopefully expect that they have become internationalized. So with that, we also enjoined our international student support association to partner with us in intercultural dialogues, in supporting all our activities. And in fact, they are now housed at our multicultural hub, which we now call Tea House. And most importantly, we are able to solicit our critical faculty not to support the embeddedness in our formal curriculum. So I will get back to that when I move forward with the other processes. So moving forward, so after the promoting and encouraging buy-in, of course, it is important that we create that vision. We have to set the direction, because we need to have that reason for being to push this particular agenda forward. Considering the overwhelming concerns that our faculty and students are having and too much on their plate. So what's in it for them to embrace this particular topic, no, or this mindset or knowledge or even the skill set? So our top management made sure that it's already incorporated in our vision mission statement, and we just transitioned to this new vision mission statements recently. So as you can read from the slide, our vision mission statement now states we are committed to developing locally responsive, globally competitive, and empowered human resources who are creative, competent, socially involved, and imbued with Christian spirit. And before, we didn't have those four highlighted words, but now it's indicated, and people can relate with this as we are now churning out a number of IZN initiatives in our domestic environment. And at the same time, there's also a concrete infrastructure where they can really uh, imbibe, no, it resonates with them, with this presence of the tea house, where it is now housing our multicultural hub. So there is an intercultural dialogue. It's facilitated by the presence of our tea house. So moving forward, no, the third that we move forward to is developing political support. You know that in any organization there is always that political power play, and there's also the competition when it comes to resources. And with the implementers of this Friends project, we cannot survive to drive this initiative unless we have the backing of our top management. So in terms of giving us free time, setting aside the prioritization and the like. And at the same time, also the financial support and the infrastructure that we need to leverage all our projects and programs in the light of this internationalization at home. So we ensured we enlightened our top management and the management team at that with all the work packages that are accrued under Friends Project. And during strategic planning, operational planning, even the academic calendar, we made sure that all those elements are indicated there, so that people are always consciously aware what things are happening in our university. And the one of the best practices that we have right now is, as you can see, all the core team of implementers are in attendance. And these core team of implementers are actually strategically assigned with the student care and support, be it international or local students. At the helm of our group is our Vice President for Academic Affairs that has the influence to direct the activities of our schools, our respective deans, to the department heads, and also to the faculty. So that gives us the power to inform and also to mandate, if ever, to attend all our activities. And in addition to our VPAA, we have also our International Relations Office, our Guidance Office, our Student Affairs Office, and also our registrars. And I'm also the coordinator that is also behind the whole package of our core team. And I think this is one of the selling point of the best practices that we have in SLU, because of that strong team that support each other in all initiatives that we are having. So from developing political support, now we move forward to our implementation part. So after all the preparations that we have put in place to making sure that there is readiness to embrace this IZN, and at the same time accepting of the change process that we are bringing in to the mindset, consciousness, and the knowledge base of our community, now implementation follows. And the focus of the implementation is really the big student population who are basically immobile, because we know that the premise of IZN is to make our student population exposed to the world out there. As we can see, the rationale is that there is already a low student mobility, there is a a lack of, of support for intercultural education, and at the same time low support for international students. So by having this rationale, then we know that we are headed to a right direction in incorporating this into our DNA as a university. So the first of which that is very significant is the adaptation of this intercultural virtual module in one of our subjects, which is offered to all the students. So except the freshman students right now, unless they are enrolled in this subject. So this is so-called the general contemporary world subject, and this is actually taken by all undergraduate students. That's why we are hitting an intercultural awareness, cultural diversity MOOC completers at a number of 19,500 completers. And this is revolutionary in the sense of establishing the intercultural exposure to all our students. If And you can even validate that if you come over physically to our campus and you bump into a student and you ask, have you been exposed to any intercultural knowledge or even learning in the campus? And most likely, everybody would validate that claim, primarily because everybody has actually enrolled in this subject. And this is a substantial value adding element to our achievement of really inputting the consciousness on IZN, no, in our genetics, no, as a university. And aside from there, of course, we also encourage all our students to submit like a TikTok or digital story telling video where they will relate their intercultural exposure, and thereby leading them to acquire this intercultural virtual certificate, which, as mentioned earlier by Christina, is a metaphorical device, no, a metaphorical evidence of the possession of a global mindset, global knowledge, and global skills of our students. And further on, as aside from the purposeful integration in our formal curriculum, we have had lots of projects or events in the light of informal curriculum, talking about internationalization and intercultural dimensions. So we had the ASEAN festivals, international festivals. We made our 5 boot campers as ambassadors in all our dialogues. We invite them to talk about their intercultural experience, especially with their 1 month exposure in Varna University of Management. And we have also career fairs where we invited numerous companies to showcase their companies to our students. And the theme is all about local markets for global talents. And we also recently visited an indigenous community, which is too far from our university. It's kind of like a 5-hour drive where we trekked, we walked, and it's an isolated community actually. where they only had their electricity in 2017. And so interestingly, you can imagine the extent of initiatives that we are doing in line with internationalization at home. And aside from this, we also have a number of projects that are related with the friends, which we have Antenna. It's also an Erasmus Plus project that hooks us up to a global network of universities. And also the Commission on Higher Education sits atop that particular Erasmus Plus project, which it gives us a policy and guidelines on how we internationalize and embed the policies in our university. And again, we have a number of strategic partnerships. We are a member of an ASEAN mobility kind of program, and we have also partnerships with British Council, with U.S. Embassy for an English MOOC, for that matter. So moving so from there on, with all this, I think we have already put our IZN in place. It's nothing new to us. We are happy that we are on the dot with all these exposures, and so we want to put these systems in place. But I will no longer elaborate on this area, because another colleague of mine, Andrew Macalma, will be presenting on how we sustain our momentum with all these initiatives that we are bringing into our system. So from there on, let me just walk you through again in a nutshell what I have presented on how we have embedded IZN at home. So we started off with promoting and encouraging buy-in. We moved into setting a direction. We made sure that we have management championing and driving our initiatives. Then finally, importantly, the education, investment, and developing of our human capital, because it has to be there, because they are our target market, and we now have to sustain our momentum. So with all these processes that we have put in place, we make sure that it has to thrive in an environment of collaboration, an openness for information sharing, a support for whatever endeavors each cluster is doing, and also social capital that is ensured with all this 25 and more than strong people that we have in our community. So the gist of the matter is that we have come this far because, as Helen Keller has mentioned, alone we can do so little, and together we can do so much. Thus, because of that, our award, we bagged the Global Citizenship Award, which is the #1 award given by our Commission on Higher Education just this year, July of 2022. So with all those, I hope you gathered so much on how we did it in our university, and 15 minutes, I think 16 minutes. Thank you for your kind attention.
Agyamanak Unay, Professor Dr. Lamadrid. And right now we are waiting for questions, but maybe I can throw one question for you, since our internationalization is not anymore new to SLU. So of course, I guess you are really championing internationalization even in the midst of the pandemic. So my question is, during the height of the pandemic, around 2020, what is the most difficult challenge that you experienced while implementing your best practices on embedding internationalization at home in SLU?
Yeah, your question is more on the positive side.
I hope
Yeah,
it could be.
positive and negative actually, no? So on a negative side, I'd say that it's so difficult to reach out to so many because of the internet problem. Coming from a developing country, I think we are still struggling with that. And but on a positive side, I think the pandemic has really facilitated us reaching out to more students. So with the staging of international festivals online, or ASEAN festivals online, and unlike if it's an F to F, then the difficulty may exist as to the physical mobility. But here, just at the comfort of your home, so long as you have an internet stable connection, then you can reach out even to our students abroad. Oh, we're on the same page because of the digitization and technological development despite the pandemic. So that is the silver lining, I think, of the pandemic. And here we are all together in our respective countries, yet being together as friends and talking about this internationalization at home. And so that's a happy note somehow.
Thank you for that. Once
Yeah.
again, that's Professor Dr. Rachel Lamadrid. So Thank you. Our third speaker is also someone from Baguio City, Philippines. She is the director of the Guidance Center of St. Louis University, Philippines. So please welcome Ms. Corazon Batarina Kawe, who will share about the impact of intercultural awareness and cultural diversity massive open online course or MOOC on learners at St. Louis University. We can't actually hear you.
Can
Yes, I
my live
guess.
screen already, Ed?
Yes, I can already see it, but can I ask if you can press the full screen
Yes, yes.
icon?
All right.
Yes, all right. We can see it clearly. Thank you.
All right.
The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ed. So my topic today is on the impact of intercultural awareness and cultural diversity through MOOC on learners of St. Louis University. However, my focus is specifically on the testimonies or stories of the 5 Louisian bootcampers who themselves successfully completed the MOOC. I can say that one of the immediate impacts of the MOOC is the interest of the bootcampers to participate in the digital storytelling to chronicle their journey toward intercultural awareness and cultural diversity. Hence, I am to share to you the highlights of the testimonies of the 5 Louisian boot campers, covering the pre-boot camp, during the boot camp days, and the post-boot camp. Theirs are great stories meant to be told, the lessons and insights from their boot camp experiences. Looking closely into their individual stories, which are based on their own personal versions, share distinct and or common experiences, highlights, or themes. Thus, my framework of presentation is on the dominant themes of their lived experiences as boot campers. The pre-boot camp experiences. Their stories combined reveal the following themes. Number 1, anticipating adventures. Number 2, experiencing anxiety. And number 3, acknowledging one's limited cultural awareness. Their positive anticipation to adventures was very evident. Like any typical young people nowadays, the prospect of traveling to a foreign country, especially for the first timers, stimulate their sense of adventure to navigate unfamiliar territories and getting out of their comfort zone. So one of them said, and I quote, "This entire intercultural bootcamp experience came with a lot of firsts. My first airplane ride, my first out of the country trip, my first time interacting with individuals from different parts of the world, quite frankly, my first time ever to get us lucky enough to be chosen for something extraordinary." End of quote. However, the excitement for the adventure is coupled with anxiety feelings. Most of them were honest about their general feelings of worry, fear, and nervousness as they looked forward to exploring a new, unfamiliar, or strange environment. The uneasiness was also a concern on how ready and able they are in handling cultural differences in real time. Again, one of them shared, and I quote, "Going to Bulgaria to represent our country and institution was a great adventure for all of us. Though I had butterflies in my stomach, which I could not describe the feelings that I have as we get closer to our destination. Once we arrived in Bulgaria, there was a mix of happiness and nervousness." End of quote. Lastly, the admission of the lack of cultural awareness and understanding was also common among them. One admitted, and he said, "I did not know that I knew nothing. I knew that I had no idea what Bulgaria is like." Now, it is also worth highlighting the experiences during the bootcamp days. Their testimonies further reveal that their experiences were not all easy. But there were a tinge of challenges or barriers to hurdle along the way in their desire to immerse themselves fully in another culture. These field experiences include one, finding themselves in little groups, staying together with the same nationality, and gradually branching out, reaching out as they discovered unity amidst diversity. One revealed, and I quote again, I found it quite surprising how, in a span of just 4 weeks, we had a deep and meaningful connection. And then number two, excursions to different places and visit beautiful tourist spots. Three, business cards exchanged in order to foster or seal connection and friendship even beyond the boot camp. Four, invitations to visit each other's country was a welcome and something they look forward to. Notable is one challenge they had to address, and that is to break the language barrier. There were other exciting events that made their camp memorable, and these include the following. First, showcase of national costumes. Second, exchange of tokens to remember or a souvenir or a keepsake. And third, the crash course on pitching and presenting. And we have the fourth one, casual hangout party to loosen a bit. And finally, finding laughter and treasuring funny anecdotes of even getting lost in a city together. One was grateful to say, I enjoyed the educational discourse in room 104 of Varna University of Management. Diversity was also observed among the professors. Now, how did the boot camp change their lives? Here are themes of their post-boot camp stories. There are undeniably significant realizations that have left imprint into their lives. One, forging connections. Two, appreciation of cultural culturally diverse participants cannot be undermined. Second, connecting with each other allowed them to step out of their comfort zones. Third, there was a meaningful shift from the I am to the we are mentality. The second significant realization is appreciation of cultural diversity. First, the words internationalization and intercultural have taken a new meaning for the students. These are no longer foreign concepts to them. Number two, the freedom to engage in cultural dialogues open doors for them on what it really is to become part of a global community. And the third significant realization is revel in their newfound courage to advocate cultural competency. The MOOC storytelling, the boot camp, cannot be ignored as a once-in-a-lifetime experience that resulted to their whole level of awareness and competency in understanding diversity and what it means to be a global citizen. One of them declared, I would not have been able to have all these experiences if it was not for my getting over the fear of rejection. I constantly have humming in my head. I only imagine how I would remain the same old, fearful, socially anxious person I am. But it took one step, one single reply to an email that changed my life. Of course, the fear is still there. It cannot be undone in a span of 4 weeks. But I feel like I am headed in the right direction, and I hope to get to continue. So if there is anything I'd like everybody or anybody to take away from this, it is to make friends, take risks, and go the extra mile, literally and figuratively. Moving on, one of the boot campers summarized her journey as stages of cultural awareness. First, the blindness stage, and she said in one statement, I did not know that I knew nothing. The sensitivity stage, which follows, is actually taken in a nutshell, and she said, I now know that I had no idea what Bulgaria is like. So I did the sensible thing everybody should do before they travel to another country, and that is to research about it. The third stage is the competence stage, and that is again taken in one statement. As the boot camper said, I eventually got used to some of the ways. And finally, the proficiency stage, she disclosed that one of the professors in the boot camp words of encouragement said, always try something new. Go somewhere else. Meet other people and see the beauty in unfamiliarity. I wish to end my presentation by quoting again one of the words of the boot campers, and would say, the core of this whole thing lies with the memories and connections that we made. All the experiences and insight I have gained from Unit 1 of the MOOC, of the online course, no? To eventually standing here today have and will continue to help me grow as an individual. Okay? So to all our Erasmus Plus friends, partners, maraming salamat, and that is thank you sa muling pagkikita, and that is until we meet again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Or agyaman na unay, Miss Kawi. And right now, I'd like to ask one question while waiting for other questions from our friends in Royal Temple College and of course our friends here in the Zoom. So I can say that boot camp is indeed a very life-changing experience, and we would love to have more and more people or more and more students from the SLU family to be cultural advocates. So my question is, are you planning to, or are you now currently designing a bootcamp SLU version for everyone in SLU?
Oh, that is a very bright and good idea. And probably like Mom Michelle is listening right now, that can be a major consideration, having
Yeah.
our own bootcamp in Baguio City. Okay, I think that is a very good suggestion.
Especially to
Uh,
our student leaders.
Yes, yes,
Wow, that's a great news.
yes.
So once again, thank you so much, Ms. Kawi of St. Louis University. So at this juncture, we will be listening to a recorded video of the director of the Center for Social Impact of Payap University in Thailand. He will talk about the challenges of embedding Friends MOOC or massive open online course into internal university academic system. So let's welcome Professor Michael Milam. We would like to request our team from APU to present the video of Professor Mike. Thank you. So while waiting, I guess based on the note right here from Dr. Grace Carrido of SLU, we have an English camp or eCamp in SLU. So that's a great news. Maybe that's one of a good strategy that we can also share to everyone right here in Zoom, on Facebook Live, and of course, our friends who are currently in Royal Temple College. So right now we have the video of Professor Mike.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining the Friends Final Dissemination Conference. Apologies for not being able to be there in person, but I hope that you will find this pre-recorded presentation interesting and useful. The topic of the presentation is the challenges that we have faced at Pipe University trying to embed the Friends MOOC course into the academic system. So, just a little bit of background. Pipe University is a private university located in the north of Thailand in the city of Chiang Mai. It was founded in 1974. Currently we have about 2,500 students who study in 12 different faculties, and we have degrees at the bachelor's, master's, and also at the PhD level. although the MOOC course itself is focused on the bachelor's students. In terms of the course itself, so the Intercultural Awareness and Cultural Diversity course, IACD, was developed as part of the Friends project to promote intercultural competence and sensitivity to cultural diversity. The course content was designed mainly by the European project partners. It is a self-paced course in its present iteration, and the students on completion receive a certificate that is issued by the consortium. The course content is varied, as you can see from the slide, although it is divided into 3 different sections. Really, the first part is related more to the theory of culture, understanding of culture. The second part is related to European culture. And the third part is more practical, related to communication strategies and communication competence. So the course itself was first offered as a pilot, and then once it was fully tested, was opened as a paced course where students went through units each week. But the idea of the exploitation of the project is for this course to be embedded in all of the partner university curriculums, in specific courses or as extra courses. So this year Pipe University issued a regulation, as you can see on the slide, stating that the MOOC course from the Friends project, the IACD, will be embedded into 2 GE courses. So these are general education courses that are designed to enhance the English levels, English proficiency of our students. However, the challenge has been that we have been unsuccessful, really, if we're honest about it, in getting students to enroll in the course previous to it being a required course. So as of September 2022, so these statistics do not include students who are now undertaking the course, the GE courses. We only had 28% of students who registered actually completing, and that is about 115 students. So it took us 2 years to actually be able to embed the course within the general education courses that I showed you on the previous slide. So this presentation is going to be talking about the challenges that we faced, and some of them we still face, solutions that we came up with, and the lessons that we've learned, which will be useful, we hope, for other universities implementing similar projects, or for Pipe University when we implement other MOOC courses. So the first challenge that we faced, and I think this is something that generally Thai universities may have a disadvantage in compared to our other colleagues from other partner universities, is the English levels that our students have. So there are many rankings of global English levels. This comes from the EF Proficiency Index, the EPI, which is one of the largest ones. And as you can see, Thailand ranks 100 out of 112 countries that they look at. So it's very near the bottom, as compared to our partners, especially Malaysia and the Philippines, who have, for obvious reasons, have higher English proficiency levels. Bhutan was not included in this report, which is why they're not there. So the real issue that we faced was, obviously, the IACD course was a content course. It was not designed to teach English. It was not an ESL course. But because our students have lower English proficiencies than other countries, most of them found it extremely difficult, even though it had subtitles. But the pace of the course was too difficult, the content was too difficult, the language used. made it exceptionally challenging for them. Apart from obviously a couple of faculties which we have, which is the nursing and the English programs, where their English is generally of a higher regard. Now, one of the issues that we face is that when courses are designed for English language learning, they need to be very specific in terms of the context. And of course, we understand that the IACD was not designed for this, but the sections that are related to the European Union, for example, are very difficult for students to understand and to follow because they don't have the context and they don't see it as being relevant. The lessons that we learned from this was, firstly, we as an institution needed to be a lot more proactive when the course was designed. We needed to include the ESL teachers in the design of the course. We actually created support groups and we offered mentoring while the course was being offered the first round. But realistically, given the time frame for the future courses and the number of students, this is going to be a little bit difficult for us to do. One thing also that we've learned is maybe the GE course environment is not the best place for the course to be embedded in, because every student has to take this course, even if their English is maybe weaker or stronger. So we're now looking at how we can embed the course in specific courses where only the stronger students can take it, and therefore being able to ensure that more students pass it successfully. The second challenge that we faced, and this is related to internal work, is the teacher workload. And of course, all around the world, teachers are overworked at universities. They have lots of things to do. You can see from the graphic there that the teachers are expected to not only teach, but do research, academic service, and all the other things. So the problem was that when we approach teachers to ask them to embed it in their courses, firstly, they need to take a lot of time to actually go through the course and understand it. Most courses, especially on the GE level, there are many sections taught by different teachers, so ensuring the standards are the same, and the way that they're being taught and how the MOOC is being involved was challenging. As I mentioned, we didn't really involve teachers in the initial piloting phase. This was done more by the project management team, which made it a bit more challenging to have them embed the course later on. So what we learned from that is, firstly, to really figure out right from the beginning which course is the best course to have this MOOC embedded into. And also to identify these course champions, so teachers who are really motivated to engage with the subject, to have the subject as part of their course, and to use them as to promote the MOOC internally at the university level. Another challenge we faced is just the way the curriculums and syllabi developed at our university, and I think other Thai universities probably face the similar issues. The MOOC course, the IACD takes a lot of effort from the students, and therefore needs to be recognized within the grading structure in a sizable way. That means that the course structure needs to be changed. A lot of courses are based on exams, and the exams take up most of the percentage of the grading system. So it's difficult for us to change that. And as I mentioned before, not putting the course into the general education system, even though that's a very easy solution because of the best fit, but unfortunately everyone then needs to take the course irrelevant to their proficiency. Something which I think everyone has faced, so it's not particular to PIAT, but this is the student apathy, maybe not being motivated to take the course. Obviously, COVID-19 made that a lot difficult, but our other partners seem to have overcome that, so that's not a specific issue to PIAT. But however, what we do face is that a lot of students don't see the need for taking this kind of course, even though they get recognized by the European Union, they get a certificate. But because they don't really use English in their daily lives and they don't see it as being related to Asian culture, because the content is more related to European culture, they find that a little bit off-putting. One way we got around that, at least at the initial stage, was to try and have competitions and engage students with fun activities, but also to ensure that whatever course it is embedded into, they get sufficient credit for the course itself, and they don't see it as being extra work. The last couple are related to the internal management structures at Pipe University. So unfortunately, we've had many changes in both academic services and general education, which has made that very difficult for us then to keep a consistent strategy going, to ensure that the Friends project and also the IACD course is viewed as being useful to the students. We obviously issued a commitment by the university to embed the course in the GE, but that was only done towards the end of the project. So one thing that we definitely learned from that is this should have been done right at the beginning. So the university needed to commit to embedding the course, to issue this letter, which we then could use when we were talking to the different systems and the different departments within the university. The last issue, and this is one which we're struggling with at the moment, and we haven't fixed it as of now, is the disconnect between the current platform. So the IACD is now hosted outside of the university, and the internal management information systems. So it's very difficult now for us to tell which students are taking the course, where they are, have they finished or not. The teachers ask me this continuously. The only way that we found to make this work is to ask the students to physically send a screenshot of either the completion, so the certificate, or even while they're taking the course. But when you have 30, 40, 50 students in a class, it becomes very difficult for the teacher to follow this, and anything that's difficult for teachers generally means that they're not going to be motivated to do that. Also, there is an issue around how we can, if we need to give credit for this course within the grading structure, how do we prove that? And also, if there are disputes, what needs to happen? So one thing that we're looking at, and I know APU, our other partner, is also looking at that, is to how we can integrate the course into our internal systems. So not have it hosted externally, but have it hosted internally, and then we can access all the background data and all the information. So finally, just a few things that we've come across. So it's obviously been a little bit of a challenging activity. It didn't seem to be such a big deal at the beginning, if I'm honest. But yeah, getting something embedded into the university is not so simple. We of course understand completely that the course was developed not to teach English, but to teach culture and to teach content with 5 very different partner countries. But the project team at PIAP, we needed to ensure that those goals were relevant and attainable. And the last thing is that this course can definitely be used not only within the academic structure for students at the undergrad level, but also maybe looking at microcredits and lifelong learning. I'd like to thank you very much for this opportunity to present our experience, and if you have any questions, my colleagues can answer them. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Right, so kubkan ka, Professor Mike. So should you have questions, you can send right here on our chat box, or probably you can send us an email and we will send it to Professor Mike. So from Thailand, we will fly back to the Philippines for one of the University of Cebu's Friends Project team members will share about a transformative and resilient university through the Friends Project. So here with us, representing Dean Ofelia G. Mania and Miss Christina Marie Hernaiz Gomez, we have Mr. Francis Jose Lian Abayata of the University of Cebu, Philippines. Take the floor, Mr. Abayata. Currently, we cannot see the slide.
Right.
We can already hear you clearly, but yes. Once again, we have Mr. Francis Joselian Abayata, our one of the University of Cebu's Friends Project team members.
Okay, good day everyone, good day friends. On behalf of Dean Ofelia Manya, Miss Cristina Hernandez Gomez, and Miss Edeline Lopez, I will be sharing in a brief manner, in a brief lang, how UC transforms and how we show our resiliency, especially during the pandemic. And maybe as what Mike mentioned earlier about the challenges, so how you see also how you see encountered some of those challenges and how we're able to to deliver the project outcomes in a timely manner. So we produce results. So today I will be discussing about a transformative and resilient HEI through the Friends project. So we already have a good background or idea as to what Friends is all about. It's basically a European consortium project, and UC is a partner, a lucky partner that participated in this kind of consortium project. So for the outline, I will be discussing in a brief manner as to what UC's institutional structure for a resilient and transformative recovery, and what is the role of foresight, and of course, in terms of sustainable growth and impact. UC upholds the student-centered approach. It means that we value internal stakeholders' concerns. So we consider how the students want to be delivered and what content that they need to receive. So UC upholds this kind of student-centered approach in order for our pedagogical approaches to be responsive to the needs in a VUCA environment. We value diversity and inclusion in all of its curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular programs. Now here, luckily in UC, we have a very good top management in terms of support, in terms of level of support. As Dean of Pelagi Mania, the Vice Chancellor of Business Development Innovation, with her influence, we're able to easily embed and implement the Friends projects and activities. So we have anticipatory governance and the capacity to construct probable futures. In terms of leadership and supportive management, the deans and the department heads of the student personal services were also in sync. And I would like to borrow also what Miss Rachel mentioned in her presentation, how this strategic coordination with the offices concerned in terms of implementing the activities of the Friends project. Aside from that, we have good ears and we have open door policy to our students. So if ever they have concerns and problems regarding the handling of the digital storytelling or the IACD MOOC, we are 24/7 in responding to their inquiries. So with that, the students who participated in the MOOC and making their DS stories or digital story entries, they they were motivated. They're motivated to share the stories because they know that they have people backing them up or helping them if ever they have concerns regarding the MOOC and the DS stories. So as you can see here, this is the institutional framework of the University of Cebu in terms of how we value resilience. We envision that UC will be an example of a modernist, accessible, and a good and an internationalization of an HEI system in the Visayas region. So for that to happen, we have the three core resilience dimensions. Number one is to build strong partnership and coordination with our local national, international communities or organizations. Then, of course, to produce globally competent graduates, which in link or in sync with our UC graduate attributes, as mentioned here. Then, of course, to have a well-planned and implemented integration of the project dimensions. So how do we hardwire resilience? How do we develop our curricular, co-curricular, and non-curricular agenda? It is through the UC-EU partnered projects. So we have here Friends, Beehive, and Trust. So for this framework, a house, it looks like a house. For it to yeah, so we have this UC-EU work packages. So we need to implement those work packages not just within 2 or 3 years, but of course to sustain that in the long run. And here, in terms of the role of foresight, you see through its top management, we have a consistent consultation with our students. And because of that, we got data, we got responses from them that having the massive open online course is actually a blessing for them, simply because especially during the career fair, they acknowledge the importance of enrolling in the MOOC because it helped them to be, I know, they were hard on the spot because how they converse, how they presented themselves during the career fair. So through the massive open online course, our students were offered international exposure. And then through the updating and our responsive TOS activities, we increase our enrollment data regardless of the pandemic. Now here, we recently conducted the Friends report card day, the final report card day. And in this, albeit with limitations, despite the pandemic, UC employs strategic collaborations. In this, the university responds to the need to incorporate new suggestions through, through this final report card day. As you may see here, 98% of the 75 total respondents were satisfied of the overall UC Friends project. Now, in terms of sustainability, we strategize this into four major parts. In terms of financing, second is stakeholder and community involvement. Third is external institutions and government policy. And lastly, reintegration for developing competencies. So number one, training student organizations to do income generating projects. Then utilize the partnerships that we have with the companies, alumni, and of course our student development welfare fund. For the stakeholder and community involvement, integration of the MOOC and DS, not just within the UC system, but also to replicate such and extend this kind of project to other external HEIs in the Visayas region. And of course, to have in-depth research study about this Friends project. In terms of the external institutions and government policy, so we are actually aiming to have a CHED memorandum that would integrate the Friends MOOC in the HEI's curriculum. So through that, we can have, first, we will have a meeting with CHED in the Philippines to discuss any possible projects. No, next is the reintegration for developing competencies. We understand that not all people will stay for long in an organization or in a university or HAI. Hence, you need to train new champions to sustain the Friends project. And every year, you also need to reboot and reskill your people, your staff, not just your students, in order to assure na there will be sustainability with the Friends project. Not just with the Friends project, but with the other UC-EU partnered projects. So with that, UC with the Friends team, Dean Manya, Miss Tina, and Miss Eds, and yours truly, we are aiming to bring University of Cebu to the minds of the world. And that ends my short discussion or sharing. Dagang salamat.
Yes, daghang salamat, Mr. Abayata. And I have this one question while waiting for other questions. So I guess in UC community, we have good ears and open door policy to everyone within the community. So I'm wondering, maybe you can briefly share how you offer 24/7 quick response, no, to any inquiries from our students.
Yes, actually, our we have our student leaders, no? We have our student leaders, and they were given some incentives, and because of they will be available even 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. if someone will be asking, so how do I go about my digital storytelling? Like what are the format and the like? So our students are actually empowered to partner with the faculty in charge in the DS MOOC in the MOOC and the DS stories.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Abayata. So we are now down to our sixth speaker who will share about the intercultural passport beyond the Friends Project. So he is the University Registrar of St. Louis University, Baguio City in Philippines. Please give your loudest virtual applause to Professor Andrew S. Macalma.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma'am Eds, for the very kind introduction. I hope you're still doing great. I'm actually very much thankful to our earlier speakers because, of course, they gave such inspiration, no? Especially, of course, for the sharing. Today, I'll take my time. So I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is, as introduced, Andrew, SLU Friends partner from St. Louis University, Baguio City, Philippines. My presentation today will be on the intercultural passport beyond the Friends Project. Although I have to admit, the next things that I'll be talking about had been nicely discussed, expertly explained already by our earlier speakers, but nevertheless, I'll try my best to also look at it, no, from where I came from and where we're coming from here in St. Louis University. I am very sure that everybody here, would agree when I say that the Friends Project that we have all been a part of had been one of the unique, interesting, and impactful international and external projects we have all been lucky to have been immersed into. Am I right? Yes, I think everybody agrees to that. Not only because of the many accomplishments, in the different work packages that have been reported in terms of the objectives of the project, but we have seen our HEI partners, mostly in Asia, upskill themselves relative to internationalization capabilities among its students and, more importantly, their global competence. On top of this, the project did also allow the majority, if not the whole university, to be included as beneficiaries in many ways in this noteworthy endeavor. Not to mention, of course, the physical face-to-face meetings in significant places around the globe and the very informative virtual engagements and meetings we have had. And again, I'm sure, especially those who have been involved, you also say double agree to this statement. Looking back, we can only say the work and the investments, of all time, talent, and treasures we have placed on this was very much all worth it. Now, of the many meaningful work packages, the Intercultural Passport, also known as Work Package 3, has been very instrumental, in shaping students' intercultural knowledge and sensitivity to cultural diversity through the introduction of the Intercultural Passport virtual module into an HEI's either elective or formal curriculum. Quite unthinkable at first, but with creativity and very strong admin support, from our end, now you know why we have 19,000 completers. The inclusion of the MOOC into the formal curriculum was a success. And so the MOOC was made an integral part of either a course or a mini course on campus. The reward was enticing. You get the credits for the course taken, and for those who did and went on to complete, of course, the digital storytelling requirement, you get an intercultural passport, a testimony of your intercultural knowledge and sensitivity to cultural diversity. And in our case, okay, lucky 5 students, no? Okay, from our university were able to join, of course, that wonderful boot camp, no? Which earlier on our colleagues have actually talked about from both, of course, Timpo University and, of course, St. Louis University. In short, okay, as mentioned, no, to get your intercultural passport, one needs to complete, of course, the IACD self-paced MOOC, and then eventually the validation of your international or intercultural prior experiential learning evidenced by a relevant student digital story. From our side of the project, the digital stories were creatively worked out. These are testaments of the participants' now growing intercultural experience. And as we listen to them talk about it, this might have been a ticket to a boot camp, but more than anything else, for them, this was very life-changing because they had to see the world face to face. So, how did we do in SLU, and how did we fare for the intercultural passport work package? Now, you're seeing right now on your screen how we did in numbers. As clearly discussed by Dr. Richard earlier on, our model was the 1 + 2 = 3 model of the intercultural passport. So more than the 1 + 2 is equal to 3 model is actually very much selling the idea, okay, not only to the top management. That was quite easy because, of course, the project was already part of the university. More importantly was to sell the idea, okay, to the faculty members, to the stakeholders, and of course the support offices of the campus. And so that led to 19,515 MOOC completers. This is as of September 2022, and I think this will still be counting, okay, especially for this semester. Of the 19,515, 138 digital storytelling entries were submitted. And so therefore, that allowed SLU to award, through VUM of course, 138 intercultural passports to the deserving students. And that resulted to 5 boot campers to Bulgaria. And of course, with a plus there, we know very well that we have accomplished a lot in terms of helping developing our students' intercultural knowledge and skills. Now, these happy statistics are a testament of SLU's accomplishments towards internationalization at home. However, as the Friends project is about to close, the biggest challenge right now is focus on the sustainability of the very good projects we have started. Well, in response to such and cognizant of some possible obstacles, the following may be considered if only to sustain the momentum of internationalization and the nurturance of campus diversity. Heading the call and the challenge of Mr. Adrian Viale, I hope I pronounce it right, the Project Officer for Asia European Commission, it has to be sustained in some ways. Now, how do we look at the sustainability of it? Well, I'd like to think that since it started with Friends, we can actually sustain intercultural passport and of course the internationalization at home project in our HEIs by turning into friends. When we have problems, we turn to friends. And the good thing about it is when we have friends, we have support. And so therefore, I'd like to present, of course, my proposal using friends as a solution. So how do we do that? Definitely, number one will be to ensure full top management support. And of course, to be evidenced by the internationalization agenda in the university's strategic and operational plans, if and when you have that. And of course, in our university, or maybe in your university's academic calendar annually. We know that somehow top management support is the most important critical success factor for any project success, such as, of course, the Friends project. Top management involvement in projects can positively and negatively impact, of course, portfolio success at the same time. But of course, with much work and very good relationship, management can look into devoting time to the program in proportion to its potential cost, reviewing the plans, following up on results, and more importantly, facilitating possible management concerns involved with integrating the programs, the Friends project activities with the management process of the university. Now, secondly, I'd like to propose that we need to reassure allocation of financial and manpower support to our internationalization activities. Following the understanding of the top management support could be in the form of aligning human and financial resource elements, such as an experienced team capable of meeting the project needs, and more importantly, its sustenance. I think this is where the champions would come in, as we have talked about. So resource allocation, on the one hand, is an essential step in the resource planning process, and an efficient resource management system would help achieve the same success that we have actually been looking forward to. This is a continuation of what we have already accomplished. It also plays a prime role in the success of a project team by giving the required political backing and, of course, the aligning of human resource management system. So human, financial, technological with the needs of the project. So top managed support is considered a meta factor that incorporates other critical success factors in these relevant projects. Interestingly, especially for most universities in the Philippines, since we are all aware of our university international rankings, it has to be mentioned that these investments are, and of course whatever will be accomplished, are aligned with the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals number 4 and 17. I'm borrowing that from Dr. Richel, on ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education, promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all, and strengthening the means of implementation and revitalizing the global partnership for sustainable development. Now, I go to my third, the letter I. Implement full adaptation or adoption of the MOOC in the GC World course, where it was actually embedded in our system, with the following considerations. One is, of course, to now look for possible qualified, excellent local facilitators who will facilitate, of course, the themes for the IACD MOOC. And secondly, probably with our experience coming from our reunions, coming from our programs, our international webinars and all, we can look into how we could probably even more enrich the content of the MOOC. Although, of course, as mentioned earlier on, another challenge that we'll have to work on with regard to this one will be the transfer of the IACD MOOC from VMU into our own homes and backyards. But I guess, with full top managed support, allocation of financial and manpower, and then, the good buy-in of the academic department, I think this can possibly work out. So, as the MOOC had already been embedded in the curriculum, it will be very interesting as to how partner universities now will sustain it, considering the noted ROI from formalizing it into the curriculum. Although there are challenges, especially for other Asian partners, I think we all know and we all would say that somehow the ROI is very much promising, especially for our students in connection to their employability, knowing, of course, the trend right now in terms of employment. Now, on the E, elevate the SLUT house in the university as a major hub of this intercultural internationalization at home activities. I guess, especially for our partner universities, this had been a requirement which will stay there forever. Well, at least for some years after even when the project would close. And I think right now the challenge is to how to maximize it. And so with the creativity not only of our international advisors, but even other partners, even outside of the university, we might possibly drum up some activities in order to keep the tea house as vibrant and as relevant, especially considering its position in the university. All right. My letter N for the Friends solution is network and solicit membership in the global university arena, and of course, continue university collaboration and exchanges. Now, the collaboration between professionals from different countries has become a claim in the globalized world where we live. In this scenario, collaborative social networks play a fundamental role in bringing people from different territories together in the same virtual space that it favors the exchange of information. We have to remember that such partnerships and linkages would allow the HEIs and the partners to engage in meaningful collaboration that would lead to student and faculty mobility, research collaboration, joint scientific activities, scholarship grants, curricular enhancement, and policy formulation, among others. Professor Jos Belen earlier this day has mentioned about the importance of collaborations and that it can be done in a good number of ways. I think if you were very much taking down notes, he actually presented a beautiful slide relative to sub-tools for IAH in the formal curriculum. And there I'd like to mention 4 points. Number 1 would be online collaboration, engagement with local diversity. I guess he even mentioned that, when we go for local appreciation of local and indigenous culture, it is and will still be internationalization. I think that's a very liberating lesson we have learned from the Professor Jos Belen today. And of course, local and foreign guest lecturers, coming from these collaborations, and of course, sustain and coming student mobility. There. That's my N. And my letter D is deliberate efforts to sustain the community development plan, of course, coming out from the Friends Project. Although separate from the work package on intercultural passport, the community development plan shall remain a very relevant activity. I have to say that I just came from that community development plan. It changed a lot, about my perspective, about how I look at that, and enrich, of course, my appreciation of my root as a person, and at the same time, of course, the culture and the life that they have. This will be another arena for local and international students to learn from the very culture present within the location of the HEI. The immersion into a minority group will definitely widen their perspectives in the arena of intercultural engagement, cultural awareness, and diversity. It has to be remembered, again, that somehow culture and appreciation of such will be a very good internationalization experience. And lastly, friends, the letter S, to sustain internationalization and IAH momentum on campus. This can be seen in, of course, the university looking towards, as probably an offshoot of the collaboration with the global university, to look into how we can still continue with student-faculty mobility. Virtual faculty and student mobility has been an in thing during the pandemic, and it worked a lot. It's something that we never imagined to become a very good tool and venue and arena for internationalization. And I'd like to believe, with a good number of teachers, being, of course, virtually partners with other universities, a lot of things are now being learned more about how we work. And definitely, the propagation of transnational education that can take a lot of forms. Maybe we can look into possibilities of twinning arrangements, articulation agreements, or maybe joint dual degrees. So for me, friends, I may be emotional about, of course, the ending of the Friends project. But with this Friends things that I learned and things that we could do, I think we can continue to not only propagate, of course, this internationalization at home projects and incentive, but we can continue to actually cross borders, and be able to learn about others. And so I say, from Pablo Casal's, the love of one's country is a splendid thing. Okay? And why should love stop at the border? I guess we continue to be friends. By friends, we were blessed. By friends, we continue to bless the world. Thank you very much.
Agyamanak Unay, Professor Macalma. So I really love your own acrostic of the word friends. And before we will let you go, I'd like to ask you one question. With your good number of intercultural passport holders who already graduated recently, may I know if you have an idea how powerful the intercultural passport that they have while they are still in SLU as they journey to their employment?
Yes. In fact, I think, of course, no, what has been already told them was that this becomes part of of course, their academic preparation. And the fact that they have an intercultural passport, it's a testament of their intercultural awareness and, of course, sensitivity and appreciation of diversity, which we have been telling them to write first on their curriculum vitae and resume, because that will count. And that since they earned units for such, then that can also count as part of their preparation for the world. Right now, probably that would still just remain on papers. But I'm sure when they graduate from the university, it will be something that they can talk about and that will set them apart from the others who have not received their intercultural passport.
Wow, very well said. Thank you once again. So this time, let us have a very quick visit to Thailand before we head back to the Philippines. So the International Affairs Officer at Prince of Songkla University in Thailand will share with us the Prince of Songkla University's international strategy, internationalization at home experience. So let's give the virtual floor to Mrs. Ana Maria Pavel.
Okay, thank you very much, Ed. Thank you for your introductions. So yes, I would like to speak about the internationalization strategy at Prince of Songkla University. So well, I would like to point out mostly about our IAH experience, because that's what we learn a lot from Friends Project. So firstly, I would like to introduce very shortly our university. PSU is a beautifully landscaped university with green campuses, as you can see from the photos. And of course, we have modern facilities also. It is the first university located in the south of Thailand with 5 campuses. And in terms of ranking, it is top 10 in Thailand and 171 in Asia by QS ranking. And we have more than 33,000 students, and we had internationalization initiative for a long time, but it was based on the classical scheme in terms of agreements. Yeah, currently we have more than 600 agreements with international universities, and on networks, mobility agreements and networks. Well, this was in the past, yeah. So currently, or let's say during the last 5 years, our university adopted and defined a strategy, an internationalization strategy, clean internationalization strategy. Nowadays, so the most recent PSU internationalization strategy also integrates elements of IAH. So we can see, as you can see in the graph here, we have many actions, like we focus on international visibility, on raising the international standards, on increasing the global competencies of our students and staff, and finding strategic partners. All these are supported by the knowledge management and by the data analytics systems. And speaking about internationalization at home, I can say that Friends Project was a milestone in the implementation of IH at PSU. That is because after joining Friends workshops and sharing sessions, we adopted IAH as one of the official action of the PSU. And as you could see, it was also integrated in our main internationalization strategy. So I would like to just speak a little bit about our experience in terms of international standards and global competencies. The kickoff of the internationalization at home at PSU took place in January 2020. So after we joined the Friends and we learned from Friends project, many things. So we had this big event, luckily for us, still on site because it was just before COVID strikes. And we had more than 600 participants to this event, where the PSU president and his team, and we had also the Indonesian and Malaysian consul as guest of honor invited. They kicked off the internationalization of the home at PSU. It was a big event. And today I would like to speak, in fact, about two big projects at PSU that push further the internationalization at home. As I said, of course, Friends project was the start of our official internationalization at home, because we had many other activities before, but it was not embedded in our strategy yet. So the Friends project, the first project that I want to talk about, we know all now that it aims at improving universities' capability for internationalization, at building students' intercultural knowledge and sensitivity to cultural diversity, and also it's aiming at international intercultural competencies for our students. So Friends Tea House was a very important way for us to spread activities that included both international and local students at PSU. And the second big project that I would like to mention today is a governmentally funded project called Reinventing University Project. In fact, the Thai government encourages Thai universities to go further and increase their internationalization capability through this project. So this Reinventing University Project has four main objectives: to increase or leverage the international accreditation by developing non-degree and degree programs, also to prepare students for global citizenship, to create global collaborative networks for increasing the global visibility, and also to support innovation and research. So this can increase also the global competency of our staff and students. So there are many activities. I will just go through a few of them. Yes, many of them are similar to Friends, but some are different, like let's say accreditation and research are a little bit different. In terms of reaching the international standards, what the university is doing. So, of course, when you're speaking about international standards at the university, we speak about teaching and learning standards. So PSU encourages its lecturers to go for, to obtain professional standards frameworks. So we encourage our lecturers to obtain UK professional standard frameworks, and both, if possible, PSU professional standard frameworks. So in 2021, we had 451 lecturers that obtaining these frameworks. In terms of international accreditation, we have 13 programs that already applied to obtain this international standard accreditation from international agencies and organizations. And a big part of our internationalization of home, of course, concerned the increasing the global competencies of our students and staff. So the virtual exchange program, of course, that is a very interesting program where our students can interact with international students and learn together courses that are taught by both our PSU students and the foreign students from those universities. So in 2021, we had 71 such activities. We also had another, I would like to mention another IAH activity aiming at global competency development. It's virtual visiting professors. These are experts from well-known universities around the world that will give lectures or research consultations to our students and staff. And in 2021, we had 176 such activities. The international virtual seminars, in fact, there are seminars that gather more or minimum, let's say a minimum of 100 participants. So there are more than 100 joining. These are aiming at spreading knowledge to our students and staff And in 2021, 11 academic seminars have been done. So I would like to mention that all these virtual activities have been kicked, at PSU. We really enter into this thanks to Friends Project. So Friends Project was the one that started us into internationalization at home. So another project that I think all universities have this COIL, collaborative learning, where our students learn together with other students from international universities. And I think this project, the world-class self-learning project, is a very interesting one. So the university supported financially our staff and students to take courses like very upskill, reskill courses, via MOOC projects like on Coursera, edX, Udemy, and the staff and students that joined these courses, that took these courses, they got, of course, new knowledge, new skills, and of course, certificates from highly renowned universities. And we cannot stop to say about MOOCs. The MOOCs are very, very important when everything is closed, like no mobility, no face-to-face activities. So MOOCs project, we developed at PSU and made available on our MOOC platform several courses aiming at global competencies development, like you can see here. And of course, when you speak about global competencies, we cannot skip the languages. So we also developed several courses, and they are available on our PSU MOOC platform in terms of English, Chinese, and Indonesian languages. And of course, we had several extracurricular activities. Our friends can recognize all these, like the Virtual Intercultural Festival, Friends Reunion, and Friends Caravan, and so many. And we also had several series of activities that we call this one, it will be Grow Global, with Photo Story, the Chinese Week, and Valentine activities. Another nice series was PSU Friends series, where we spread the word about friends to our students. And our students also had the chance to learn about BCGs and SDGs and had an intercultural experience in UNESCO Biosphere Reserves in Chiang Mai province. So many or most of these activities have been organized by our very active Tea House student coordinators together with our PSU Young Ambassadors. We have a group of students that are very active and eager in organizing and involving in all these international activities to learn also and to also help the others learn. So we are very lucky to have such a young group to help us with all these internationalization activities. So just very quickly, I will mention about our what we are doing in terms of international visibility. So last year, PSU hosted and co-hosted together with QS and international partners several events. So we were the host of the QS Subject Focus Summit in tourism and the co-host for QS Apple 2021. And this year we are again the co-host of QS Higher Education Summit Asia Pacific, that is in fact QS Apple 2022. So we believe that this can really increase the visibility of the international arena of our university. We had more activities at PSU, but well, the time is, I think we ran out of time. So thank you very much for your attention.
Kugan ka, Mrs. Pavel, and I'm very interested about the strengths that you have in PSU. So since one of your strengths is research, may I know if you already conducted a study related to Friends Project?
So yeah, our research have many joint research activities, but we did not do that because, as you know, Friends does not include research, but we have on the other project, of course. So at our university, we have several offices. So we have the research and development office that is related to research. So I know that we encourage the joint research activities, not only under the Reinventing Project University, but our university made available funding for these. So yes, we have many joint research together with even European partners, yes.
All
Thank you.
right. So speaking about joint research projects, maybe we can have one very
Of course.
soon. So thank you, Mrs. Pavel. So from our quick visit in Thailand, we are now back in the Philippines as we listen to our last, but definitely not the least speaker who will present about indigenous narratives in Cebu, seeing the eco-milieu toward cultural quotient development. So let us make some virtual noise as we welcome the Director of Internationalization and ASEAN Integration of Cebu Technological University, Philippines. So let's have Associate Professor Dr. Rodora Magan. We cannot actually hear you, Dr. Magan.
Hello,
Yes.
Ms. S,
Yes.
can you hear me now?
Yes, very
All
clear.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening once again from here, and good afternoon to our friends in Bhutan. I'm the last person, and I know that everybody has a question. How long is her speech today? Don't worry, I won't torture you. It's going to be very quick and very informative as well. I call this presentation a breather. I'm from Cebu. I'm a Cebuana, but probably many of you might be losing a lot of opportunities in the past of knowing what really constitutes a Cebuano, or a real context, which is very vibrant and colorful at that. I call this indigenous narratives at first, but I changed it to indigenous poetic visions, as I believe in poetry as something very moving, and that there are a lot of ideas, perspectives that we can learn from them. At the end of the day, we can still call them very distinct narratives, and indeed, we can see the milieu, very specifically the environmental milieu toward intercultural, of course, awareness, and I call this cultural quotient development. This is very important nowadays. We move forward to the very concept of this entire presentation, which is, I believe, necessary. We have the flow of discussion, theoretical foundation, because you might be asking later on why I'm calling Cebu, or why I'm calling the Cebuano and the Cebuano an indigenous element as we speak. I don't want you to be questioning me at the end of the day. So we have this theoretical foundation, indigenous poetic vision, second layer, third layer, cultural quotient development, and of course, Western infusion via cultural evolution. Because at the end of the day, we have to lobby the concept of friends being the mechanism here of pushing forward for intercultural awareness and everything. The scope of my talk here is very much founded on reconceptualized indigeneity. I know that there is very basic definition that we can look into. Of course, the dictionary is a great help. We can look up for the meaning of this, and we have one common idea about this. But in my talk this evening, we have the reconceptualization. Of course, it's based on the postmodern idea. The cultural reconceptualization is going to lead us to one thing: survival, according to Mankiller in 2009. So I would say, and I would contend, that the term is highly contested, according to Stuart Georgina, and this is a very avant-garde idea in the field of literature from where I belong. And I could say that this departure from the general perspective of indigenous culture is very much a great help toward understanding the biggest icon in India in literature. We have Gayatri Spivak, a forerunner of post-colonial cultural criticism. If we read everything about Spivak's work, we can see a lot of ideas coming through, ideas basically that are so new to many of us and very challenging, because we think that indigenous as a concept has only one bearing, but at the end of the day, it is equivocal. And for you who might probably be on the same boat, you can say that yes, we are heading in the right direction. Spivak is our key to understanding and unlocking things here as we continue. I would say that deconstruction for Spivak is an intellectual ethic which enjoins a constant attention to the multiplicity of determination. And I will stress on the idea multiplicity, because this brings to us the concept of references, a lot of reference points. If you ask a person, what do you think is the meaning of this? You have to do a follow-up. What's your reference point? Which do you think is this? Follow-up question, what is the reference point? Why do you think this is so? Another question, what is the reference point? At the end of the day, there is no direct answer to anything. In the postmodern world, there is multiplicity of everything. And the goal here is to determine whether or not this multiple meaning is very universally accepted or not as well. Regardless, we can say that whatever meaning you have, well, you have the right to own it. Everything has this capacity to create meaning. All right, these Cebuano narratives, or should I say Cebuano creations, and very specifically, I'm not saying the narrative, which is the short story or the novel or anything in paragraph form, but I'm saying the stories, the ideas and the conceptualizations of a Cebuana. So I got this from Leticia Suarez, a very prominent writer before the World War I. And of course, Esther Tapia, we have 4 very critical poems. Tibalas in English, brush finch. Camilla, that's a flower in the city. In the province, in English, you have butterfly lily. Stone builder, you have a mason in our culture. You don't say mason, but mason. Please be careful with the pronunciation. And of course, we have ang banga, or the water jar in English. All point to one very important thing, cultural criticism via images. And we got the translation from Marjorie Vasco, one of the country's great writers too, in her article, Song and Substance, Women Writing Poetry in Cebuano, 3 literary anthologies in the 1990s. So it's a piece written in the 20th century, but these classical ideas from Leticia and Esther Tapia all came from very, very important era before the First World War. So we have here the first one, and I really, really wanted you to take a look at these translations here, because it's your chance to get to know more about Cebu and the Malayo-Polynesian bearing, because of course our language is not the original language. We have a lot of transient people coming through before we were even calling ourselves Cebuanos here. And so at the very beginning, you have, allow me to read, this is really intercultural as we speak, and I think the best way to end the parallel session. Niluhog na ang mga mata sa tibalas, nga giluthang sa graduadong walay lingaw. In English, the light in the eyes of the tibalas has set, shot down for the idle college graduate. Well, I chose this very emphatic and very significant part in the poem because it teaches us that environmental care is very inherent in every society. And in the intercultural context, this is the biggest discursive frame, caring for the environment. Talk about climate change, talk about all these campaigns we have been doing day in, day out, just to inform everyone that taking care of Mother Nature is, of course, our main priority. And take a look at this image here, a very innocent one, and yet people are not taking care of it. Not just Cebuanos, but a lot of people are no longer paying attention to what these tiny voices are saying. The tweets that we are hearing, the natural tweets in the environment are missed out. And we have to say that once and for all, we go back to those traces of narratives. And right here, right now, I'm saying to you that we can do this. We can still do this. All right, so the second one, the second poem I chose is very important, of course, stanza. Og ikaw mga dili orkidya, dili loya, yeah, loya, that's of course ginger. Karang dili na bulak apan, hulagway na lamang nga idayan-dayan sa lando nga bungbong ning Pinoy-anan. O kaha, amag na lamang ning nagkalayang panumduman in English. And you are no orchid nor ginger, you are no more than a picture to decorate the dark wall of this dwelling place. Perhaps you are merely an ember of wilting memory. Later on, I'll tell you why this is very important, the implication of these lines via the images. Here's the kami on the left side, and this is at some point a drying as we speak, because again, the people lack the care. Millennials, Xennials now are so glued onto their screen that they're forgetting these very important elements. So this part of the poem of Leticia is telling everyone that there is more to what we see, and it's not our end goal to decorate them on our walls, but of course, because we need to preserve, because there's no way, as the persona of this poem is telling us, at least there is a method of looking back by preserving it, a common thing that we do on the wall. And again, this is telling about intercultural awareness, moving there, moving here, whatever happens, nature is very important. And during our campaigns, we stress on this as well. Third poem, very striking photo of a very primeval, I should say, Cebuana. Gisapwang ko sa akong duha ka palad ang hagawhaw sa napukawang tubig, ang hinaganas sa ilang kahimungawong. And this is a really deep Cebuano now, with more or less 4 syllables in one word. And we so miss this. I'm bringing this out to you once and for all to be able to know what a Cebuano language is like. Not the common ones that we hear from the millennials now. No, this is, I should say, gisapwang ko sa akong duha ka palad, ang hagawhaw sa napukawang tubig, ang hinaganas sa ilang kahimungawong. In English, I carry with my 2 hands the murmur of the roused water, the rustle of its awakening. I added here something very important. Pagkabugat sa banga, subay sa ngilid sa pangpang ang katamis. How heavy the jar is as I walk the cliff edge of sweetness. Again, later on, we'll discover why this is very significant. But very quickly, I should say that you look at the picture to the left side of the presentation, there's that very innocent girl carrying water using, of course, a very typical figure, typical image in our society, in our culture, banga, or the water jar. It's an earthen vessel. And I don't know if this is available at the moment. I think we can still have this at Carbon Market here in Cebu. And we miss this place. I think at this moment we are having a lot of stores reopened, and it's good to be back there. So this is a local idea of what we do when we carry water from one place to another, taking charge of cooking and everything, and we use this very important vessel. And again, it's part of our daily routine, part of taking care of nature and everything, enjoying the survival scheme. They're specifically captured in this wonderful picture. And of course, I have here the fourth one. Nga mituto ka na ko gikan sa pikas nga daplay niining lawa, diin akong gituslog ang akong tiil sa tubig. Dili ko maghumod, dili ko maligo niining tubig nga puno sa pangupaw. Actually, there is the persona here telling us about temptation coming in and just trying to avoid it. Seeing the lake so placid, one can only imagine getting a dip and, getting wet as well. There's no chance for the person not to get wet because there is that temptation that calls for the person to dip. And at the end of the day, the persona is telling, oh no, there's no chance for me to be tempted. In English, staring at me from the other shore of this lake where I dip my feet in the water, I will not get wet, nor bathe in this water filled with sighs. And as you can see, there's this amalgam of nature and humans. And in this amalgam, there's dynamism. Our relationship with nature, our way of socializing with other things beyond ourselves is very important in this intercultural journey. We don't just talk about filling out forms. We don't just talk about all of these numbers and figures and everything, but we also have to talk about the psyche and the very important element in every activity that we do. For example, in the Friends campaign or in our internationalization at home campaign, this is very essential as we introspect and discover who really is this person talking, what are we made of, and what can we actually do moving forward. Okay, a few more slides and I'm done with this. So bear with me. Like I said to you, the poetic visions vis-a-vis eco-milieu. Number one, the first one I showed you, I'll have to read out: birds and species fall prey to insensitive human actions. The graduate student, as mentioned in the poem, is the one that got the bird killed. And yes, in Cebu, we have a lot of issues about that. That's why the siloy, for example, is now endangered because a lot of people in the south or the southern area of the province are no longer taking care of it. So this is one classic example of that very important poem with a particular issue. Second, the Kamya, remember? It says here, the way we understand that, of course, via images, flora, fauna is preserved through the ironic quest of art. There's this struggle of art to actually preserve nature. How ironic that is. And how wonderful it is to hear that art is trying to preserve something in nature that people are no longer capable of doing themselves. Number three, refusal of temptation is mirrored in the languid appearance of nature. We see nature as something not responsive to us, but at the end of the day, really, it's nature talking to us more than ever. And we have to really heighten this discussion in our, of course, tea time with our students and faculty. They go to our tea rooms for very important communication strategies. That is to boost their emotional aspect and more than that, to give them an idea as to what they should be doing from here on. And number four, the sweetness of survival emanates from nature's being. I should say that the girl carrying water using the earthen vessel is not complaining at all. She is enjoying it. She is relishing every moment of it. And the texture of the earthen vessel reminds everyone as we read the poem that there is more to life than merely what embracing all these advancements. Although we cannot shun the idea, we really have to do it because there is evolution, but the very concept of still recalling what nature has done to us and has been doing to us and what we can do to nature, that is a priority. Okay, of course, we have 6 more slides, but I'll do it very quickly. So once again, as promised to you, this poetic vision extraction centering on eco-milieu is very much leading us to cultural quotient development or the intercultural awareness, especially focusing on the Cebuano context. All right, the Cebuano, I'm not considering the Cebuano as an indigenous element here, but of course, theoretically, based on the statement I spoke about, basing on Spivak and in the postmodern context, we have to reinvent the way we see the word indigenous, because at the end of the day, before all of these innovations, we call ourselves the innocent, the indigenous. Of course, the naked element of nature is you and me. And after technology, we have become someone else. I don't know if you know yourselves, but we have to, again, reconceptualize ourselves, being immersed now in this very inevitable setup of technology. The Cebuano, a quick trip down the memory lane. These are the people carrying earthen vessels. I'm proud of this picture. We say that Cebu or Cebuanos constitute the second largest ethno-linguistic group after Tagalog in the Philippines. Of course, we're numbering 16.5 million as of late, and that's so huge. So moving on to this present time, we have, I think, tripled. And this indigenous picture you're seeing is no longer that. But again, we don't forget who we are. So we take into consideration this one to bring to everybody's attention today that there's this group of people in this part of the continent who are very eager to join the cause with you, who are trying to be calling themselves the millennials and the Xenos, but deep down in their hearts, they are the indigenous people who want to care for their environment as a sacred act, not just a simple ritual, but a sacred act. The Cebuano poetic vision from the four poetic narratives or texts, we say, there are 4 things we can learn from this evening. And number 1, the poetic vision based on those 4 poetic texts. We say, number 1, it displays consequences of human actions. It strives to preserve a culture through art. It believes in restraint. And of course, it celebrates the struggles life may bring. In our intercultural discussions, we bring to their attention all of these very important implications. And we don't just talk at the tea house for nothing. We say that dialogic paradigm with these very important ideas from our poems, from our short stories and everything is very important. All right, unpacking the characteristics through the past, present, and future. You have the past Cebuano, the present Cebuano, and the future Cebuano. There's just one question here. What are we capable of doing in the next few years? Okay, 20 years hence, for example, I have to say there should be only one answer. An element that should never forget what the environment should be, okay? And that whatever happens through time, this concept of having the trade, first figure, second, of course, another trade on the waters, and these kids smiling, the tiny Cebuanos, the cute Cebuanos, laughing their hearts out one afternoon on a field is very, very wonderful to me. This is a reminder of these happy times, especially that we are calling ourselves products of innovation. These are elements that couldn't be, of course, forgotten, and elements we should never be neglecting moving forward. So the Cebuano, in a nutshell, I should say, is a responsible element in the past, in the present, in the future. Last two slides. Therefore, globalization has major influence on indigeneity, hence I reconceptualized it. These are a lot of programs the world is making and is organizing from different parts of the globe. We have the one championed by the UN, and we have very concrete examples on the ground of engaging the indigenous peoples of the world and making sure that they also have access to education, technology, and many, many more. It doesn't really mean that if you're indigenous that you cannot see the other side of the world. No, it should be a different narrative these days. It should be a different thing. And that concept of being very primitive is something that we have to keep in the box and never open again, because time moves forward, not backward. And here we say that the indigenous and non-indigenous elements, of course, should be shaking hands together. And there's a program again across the globe. We have the indigenous people's right to education given premium now by UN. And we have even very interesting facts here of international indigenous campaign for students, to actually be integrated and of course have the quality education, not just in Southeast Asia, but also in Europe, in America, and in many parts of the advanced world. So I say technology promotes education among the indigenous people. So I have the right to say at the beginning that the term indigenous should be reconceptualized as we speak. That's according to Kral in 2010. And I think I'm down to my last slide as promised. I'm very quick with this. Ladies and gentlemen, people in Bhutan, my friends in the country, my fellow Cebuanas and Cebuanos, Ms. Ez, my fellow Cebuana, it's all about the relationships. Conclusion, allow me to read out. Change is inevitable, but we should all be reminded of our being originally indigenous peoples before all these changes around us occur, to protect the environment, not as an intellectual exercise, but as a sacred duty. Because there is a notion that if you're indigenous, you have to protect the environment as a sacred duty. And if you're a non-indigenous, you have to protect the environment as an intellectual exercise. Well, at this moment, right this time, we have to scrap it out. And all of us, whether indigenous or not, we have to consider the environment as a sacred duty. Good evening. Maayong gabi sa natong tanan. Thank you.
Daghang salamat o good evening, no? So thank you so much and good evening, Dr. Magan. So I can really say that you have a lot to offer in terms of beautiful works like you presented a while ago. So in connection to our topic, which is friends, achievements, and impact, there is this question about how this kind of work contributes to your strong internationalization program in CTU, including the Friends Project achievements.
Thank you, Ms. Eds. All right, in the community programs, we make sure that we don't just lobby to them the Western culture, but also the Eastern culture. Edward Said said in this very important Orientalism theory that the Western part is so dominant sometimes, and the Eastern part of the world is sometimes overlooked. So I think it's high time that in every campaign that we do via Friends, we have to balance things. We have to strike a really great balance between the Western and Eastern ideologies, because I should say that, for example, we live in Cebu, where we were giving them 80% West What about the 20%? Okay, that's not fair. So we have to have 50-50 and make sure that before we go out to say hi to the world, we know who we are and we think that the Cebuano stands at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about it. So there you have it, friends. To every one of you, thank you so much for joining us today. And this is the end of the parallel conference session 2 of the Friends Final Dissemination Conference. So please join us again tomorrow and learn more about Friends' achievements and impact. So thank you so much to our partner HEIs, of course, our friends in Bhutan who are right now in Royal Timpo College, and for, of course, hosting this conference. Special thanks as well to our technical team from Asia Pacific University in Malaysia. So this has been Eds Lopez from the University of Cebu. So see you all tomorrow. Please invite your friends. Have a great day. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Good job, Ma'am Eds.
Thank you po, Sir Andrew. Good job. I love the acrostic, friends. Acrostic of friends. Good night, everyone, or good morning to the other side of the world.